For adding color to this project, you've got a couple different options based on what you may have available to you. First of all, you can always use crayon. If you're going to use crayons, stick with using just your primary and secondary colors. So red, yellow, blue, green, orange, purple. So that's one option, is using crayons. Another option, if you have it, is to use watercolors. Same thing for the watercolors. So you're going to stick with using very limited number of colors. So like for me, I'm just going to use the red, yellow, and blue, the orange, green, and purple as well to help me out. And then your last option, if you have it, would be some color pencils. So again, I would just pull out the couple color pencils that I need for sticking with a pretty limited number of colors and then working from there. Now, the reason that I'm asking you to limit what you're using is so that you can experience mixing the colors some. So rather than just pulling out the colors and coloring like you would in a coloring book, if you work with just this small number of colors, it's going to really help you to learn how to mix colors and make your work more interesting. All right, so I'm going to start with my crayons, okay? And I'm going to kind of do a couple different sections so you can see how to do this. Of course, for my umbrella that's labeled as yellow, I can use my yellow crayon just like a regular yellow crayon because this whole umbrella needs to be yellow. Now, if I want to, I could like color my flowers in a darker yellow and by just pressing harder with my crayon, and the rest of my umbrella in a lighter yellow or something like that, just to vary my yellow. I think what I'll do is I'm going to color the umbrella part with a little bit heavier pressure for my yellow, but then for my handle, I think what I'll do is just use a lighter pressure yellow by just pressing down a little lighter so that it perhaps is a little bit more interesting instead of it all being just the same. Okay, now I'm going to turn my paper and I'm going to come to my next umbrella. So I'm skipping my raindrops for now, and I'm just going to come to my umbrella. Now I have orange crayon out, so I can use my orange crayon. Maybe for this one I want to do the same type thing where I color my handle in a little bit lighter orange and the umbrella part a little darker orange or something like that, just again to give a little bit of variety. So I'm going to color this in. Now that I've finished coloring in my primary with yellow, my secondary with orange, I'm ready to come to my tertiary color. And like we talked about, this is going to be a mix of these two. Now, I could just pull a color out of my crayon box that looks pretty close to what that might look like, but I think I'm going to learn how to mix colors instead. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to layer them. So I'm coloring with my yellow crayon. I'm not pressing down super hard. I'm pressing down hard enough that you can see the yellow, but I'm going to also be able to color on top of it. I'm going to come on here and I'm going to do the same thing with my orange, where I'm pressing down hard enough to where you can see the orange, but you can still see plenty of that yellow through my orange. And so what it's doing is it's creating a nice mix. Like you can imagine mixing colors together the way you would mix paint. So I've done that when I started with orange. I'll be curious to see. All right, so it does a nice job of blending that way too. Okay, I kind of actually prefer when I started with the orange. I think I'll do that here. I'm not pressing down super hard. I might even add a little bit more orange to this one here until I get the right kind of mix of yellow orange using my crayons, just layering them on top of each other. And that's how you're going to create your tertiary colors. Now I'm working with my color pencils, and I went ahead and colored my red in with my red color pencil, and I've colored my purple in with my purple color pencil. And now I'm here to this red purple, where again it's a mix of these two. And I'm going to do that the same way as I did with my crayons, where I'm just going to color lightly with one of my colors. The key here really is just not to, you want to press down enough so that you can see it, but you don't want to press down so hard that it adds too much of the color and then the other color can't really show. So the key is just to press down hard enough that it looks red, like it's clearly red or clearly whatever color that you're trying to use, but it's just not so dark that you can't that the other color won't work anymore. So I'm going to finish up adding my red to this one, and then I'll layer my purple on top of these to create my red violet or my red purple if I'm working with colored pencils. So hopefully you can see that color starting to change where I'm adding that purple on. And of course, if I only add a teeny bit of purple, it's going to be more red. If I press down pretty hard with my purple and add a lot of it, it's going to change it into being closer to purple. So I'm trying to find kind of a nice mix of the two by not pressing down super hard with it, but just filling it in with my material all the way so it's a nice mix of the two. You might be wondering why I didn't do this set of raindrops right here that are going to be my mix of red and orange. I'm going to come back to that. I just wanted to finish showing you guys each of the different materials, and then I can come back because this was crayon and this was colored pencil. I just wanted to show you each of the individual materials. All right, so now I have a pretty nice blend of this red and this purple here mixing together on my paper to create a nice red violet, and I'm ready to come over here to show you an example with paint. All right, so I'm going to open up my watercolors, and for my blue, I'll use just the regular blue that's in here, activating my watercolors first by just adding some water to it. And I'm going to paint this blue umbrella blue, and I will paint my green umbrella green, and then I'll show you a couple tricks for mixing. Okay, so now for mixing with watercolors, you've got a couple different options. First of all, you can mix on like a tray. Watercolors often come with a lid that you can use the space on to do some mixing. So this one's a little bit dirty, but if I just add some water up here, and then I grab the two colors I want to use. So for this one, I'm working with green and blue, and I stir some green into this space. Stir, 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 add this green over here. Then I can come and I can grab some blue, and I can mix the two together to make my blue-green that I need for my umbrella, okay? Or not my umbrella, I'm on a raindrop now. Okay, so I've mixed my two colors together, and I can paint my raindrop in with my pre-mixed blue-green color here, where I've mixed my green watercolor with my blue watercolor, and I'm just painting in my space. So that's one option. Or I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to come to my next section for tertiary color, where I'm going to mix yellow and green. And I'm going to go ahead and do this with watercolors as well. Another option is to mix right on your paper. And the way you're going to do that is by getting your color nice and activated, so it's a little puddle in here. Okay, so I've got both of my colors ready to rock and roll. And one thing I will note is yellow, out of all the colors, because it's the lightest, is the least powerful. Like the other colors are going to want to kind of cover it up. So I'm going to start with it. I'm going to start with my lighter color, and I'm going to paint it on here. Just some nice puddly yellow paint in my yellow watercolor, and I'm painting it on. But before it has a chance to dry, I'm going to get a little bit of my green, and I'm going to stir them together here right on my paper. Now in doing this, if you're mixing it on your paper, you'll find that your green isn't necessarily consistent or the same all over your whole space. It's going to change a little bit. In some places it's going to be a lighter green, and in some places or yellow green, and in some places it's going to be a little darker, just because of how much paint you have on your brush. And that's okay. Like this is a pretty dark yellow green right here. So maybe I'll try to make this last space a much lighter yellow green by only getting just the teensy tiniest bit of that green there. Okay, so now I've got my yellow green by mixing on my piece of paper. And I'm just going to finish off my two last tertiary spaces. I'm going to go ahead and do them with watercolors, even though I used other materials. And then we'll see the finished creative color wheel. So here's my finished creative color wheel. It starts with yellow and goes all the way around my whole circle with one color able to blend into the next. I've got all three primary colors showing. I have all three secondary colors showing, and then I have all my mixes of the primary with the secondary to create the 6 different tertiary colors where those colors are mixed together.